At a clearing station behind the main front, ambulances transfer the wounded to hospital trains. Nurses of the Army Medical Corps traveling right with the men to provide every possible comfort during the first stage of the long journey home. At base hospitals, they receive attention impossible under conditions at the front. Here they rest and are prepared for the voyage back to America. Veterans of the Italian campaign, they've given their best to the cause of the United Nations.
The waves of 1918. Here in San Francisco, California in 1918 are young women of the Naval Reserve. The waves of 1942 as they looked in World War I. Not quite as sharply and snappily dressed as the uniformed women one war later, they're just as stylish for the times and ready for duty.
Student nurses, members of the newly formed United States Cadet Nurse Corps, marched to New York City Hall for induction. White-capped Navy auxiliaries applaud the young Sisters of Mercy who pledged their lives to serve humanity. Learning without pay, 95,000 volunteers like these are in training throughout the United States. American Army nurses are right at the front to care for the wounded. They draw field rations just like the men and are prepared to stay as long as they're needed. This is typical of the spirit with which American girls are following the flag.
Cutting the number of casualties in this war are the modern Allied field hospitals, as complete as any you know. Again, brave women work alongside of our men close to the firing lines. The surgeon sees an X-ray of the shrapnel wounds. You can see that every modern facility known to medicine is available to our boys. Yes, women are working at the job of winning the war far from home.
After our field hospital had been bombed and shelled a few times, we decided to take steps. We couldn't go entirely underground, so we did the next best thing and built strong revetments into which the tents could be put. We nurses helped where we could. It was a huge job, but it was necessary. We'd been shelled so often, we came to be called Hell's Half-Acre. In fact, some line soldiers would actually hide small wounds, rather than risk being sent over here. I'm not making this up. It actually happened.
More troops for the American Expeditionary Force in Australia. Armed convoys winning the game of hide-and-seek with enemy fleets to deliver the men and material to the land down under. Girls of the Army Nurses Corps, American women going to war fronts around the globe with the men. Once ashore, the Army nurses make themselves right at home in this strange new world. At an advanced base, they take over a completely equipped hospital and dressing station. Overnight, medical and surgical facilities are established to care for the physical needs of the troops. The girls, all rated as officers and trained to rigorous Army standards, work long hours. But it's not all grim. At the local zoo, they meet Australia's famous koala bears, seldom seen outside the continent. And Mr. Kangaroo jumps at the chance to meet some pretty American girls. America honors Army nurses who served under fire in the Philippines. Heroines of Manila, of Bataan and Corregidor, their deeds have written an epic chapter in U.S. history. Mrs. Roosevelt looks on as 6 who came back received medals for valor. To student nurses, their courage is an inspiration. Caring for the wounded until told to go, they were the last to leave. On the home front, women enlist for less glamorous, less hazardous, but equally important work in industry. Replacing men who are called to the colors, these girls are operating one of the nation's biggest lumber mills. Today, women in overalls, women in war jobs, are to be found throughout the length and breadth of America. Even at Army proving grounds, the so-called weaker sex is doing a man-sized job. Testing tanks is just daily routine for this all-girl crew. On the firing range, they try out the latest machine guns. A 50-millimeter aerial defense weapon with plenty of kick. Manning anti-aircraft batteries, they feed shells and fire them with clockwork precision.
Touring amid New York skyscrapers, American servicewomen model their new year-round wardrobe. These are Navy auxiliaries whose jobs on land release more men to fight at sea. These are Marines, dressed for winter and for summer. These young ladies are in the Coast Guard, and they join members of the Women's Army Corps in a garden overlooking Manhattan's Fifth Avenue. Typical of American girls serving with the armed forces, they're at home anywhere. Here, a detachment of Navy nurses goes ashore to serve on Guadalcanal in the South Pacific. Not many months ago, this was a battleground, the first land to be wrested from the Japs. Now, with the enemy wiped out on Guadalcanal and on the defensive throughout the entire Pacific, these courageous girls join American forces carrying the war to the enemy.
Surgeon General Kirk, shown here with Colonel Hobby, head of the WACs, has sent out an urgent appeal for 8,000 more WACs as our casualty lists mount to assist nurses in the 60 general hospitals in this country. They will assist the professionally trained nurse so that her greater skill can be spared for tasks only a nurse can do. The nurses are caring for as many as 40 sick and wounded soldiers instead of the normal quota of 10. To give the men the care they need and help speed them back to health, the aid of more WACs are needed immediately, for these men need a woman's touch. The WACs will be trained as medical and surgical technicians, such as laboratory experts, surgeons' aides, X-ray operators, and druggists among the many jobs. This appeal is urgent. Women soldiers to care for other soldiers whose tasks have already been so much greater. What woman wouldn't take deep pride in nursing a man back to health and speeding him on his way? Apply to any United States Army recruiting office and answer this appeal. Your mission will be one of mercy.
This company of nurses is waiting for its call from the port commander, just like everyone else. When the ships are ready, the troops are ordered to move to the port. From the moment when that order for movement comes through, machine-like precision, split-second timing is required for every detail. The passenger list is prepared. This WAC officer is checking her company's passenger list, that all-important piece of paper which must be accurate to the most minute detail. From here on, the order of names is never changed. It's the final checklist and record. Who goes and who stays. Then the day of departure. Precision and discipline are necessary, whether man or woman. Response to commands must be snappy. A bags are placed in front of the barracks in the order of march, passenger list order. The bags are moved through the train and trucks and lined up on the loading platform in the same order. to the loading point.